today's video, we're going to learn how to use Microsoft Copilot in PowerPoint to create, edit, understand, and of course, ask questions about our PowerPoint presentation. Microsoft Copilot is an addition to Microsoft 365, so even if you have a 365 account, you will have to pay additional for Microsoft Copilot. With that being said, let's get into this. So I want to start by looking at and navigating Copilot in PowerPoint. And one thing you should note is that whether you're using PowerPoint on the web, whether you're using it on Mac, or whether you're using it on PC, the experience is the exact same, which is why I interchangeably use it between my PC and my Mac. In today's video, we are running this on my Mac. So we are in a PowerPoint that I created called the Hybrid AI Intro, which is an introduction to artificial intelligence. In the Home tab on the right-hand side, you can see we have the Copilot symbol here. And if we open this up, we can pop out our Copilot. Of course, if you grab the Copilot header, you can also move it around the screen, so it doesn't always have to be locked into the right-hand side. You can see here when you first launch Copilot, it tells you the main things it can do, such as chat, respond to questions, and help draft a presentation. And you can try things like create a presentation, ask information about a slide, or even answer a question about this deck. But what I'd recommend if this is your first time using Microsoft Copilot is that down the bottom here, where you can ask a question and work with the presentation, you can use this and type into it, but you can also use your microphone to talk into it as well. I'd recommend before you get into any of this, selecting on this little view prompt book, open this up, and this will show you and teach you how to use prompts a bit better to get the best out of Copilot. It gives us the option of creating, and it gives us some examples here. And then of course, editing and asking. And then further down, there's a button called View More Prompts. If we open this up, this is going to take us to Copilot Lab. And this is going to show us a whole range of different prompts that we can use inside of Copilot in PowerPoint. If you have a really prompt that if there's a prompt you really like, you can of course save it and then use your filter here to view just those saved prompts, or you can break it down by category of create, ask, edit, and understand. And if you want even more information, there is the button here called Go to Copilot Lab. This is going to take you online to Copilot Online, and this is going to give you even more information about using Copilot prompts. I would recommend having a play with this in your own time, but you can see it gives you some amazing ideas, and of course you can break it down by the different apps you're using, and of course by the different categories too. But for today's example, let's jump back to PowerPoint and let's get started with this. What I'm going to do though, instead of working with the presentation that I've created, is I'm going to open up a brand new PowerPoint, open Copilot one more time, and I'm going to ask it to create me a presentation. So I've asked it here to create a PowerPoint presentation on the rise of AI, talking about the history, its uses and possible concerns, and adoption strategies. Have slides in there that ask questions of the audience to improve engagement. And I'm going to hit send. This is going to start working with Copilot, and it's going to start creating a response for us. So you can see here within a couple of seconds, it's actually populated 6 slides, including an intro and outro, and slides that I asked for. So the history of AI, its uses, concerns about AI. It's dropped in imagery and edited these slides, put adoption strategies in here, and of course ended with a thank you. So within a few seconds, we've generated this, which is really phenomenal. One thing Copilot does recommend as well is that if you don't like these slides, you can use Designer to adjust the layout. Designer is another AI tool built into Microsoft where you can select on the button here for Designer, or up the top in your ribbon, you have Designer as well. I'll show you what this looks like. This isn't actually a Copilot feature. This is a Microsoft 365 feature, but you can see it gives you a few ways that you can quickly edit and customize your PowerPoint slides in a few simple seconds. So you can just select on a slide. Designer is going to generate a few ideas for you, and you can go ahead and just mix this up. But within a few seconds, we have created a 6-page presentation on the rise of artificial intelligence, talking about its histories, the use cases, and everything. So for me, that's quite phenomenal because this has just jumped straight into it. It's pulled images and it's starting to look like a real deck. What I wanted to show you here is how quickly we can actually create a deck from scratch with a simple prompts. But now I'm going to jump back to the original deck that I created because I want to work in this one for today. So I've got Copilot here, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to ask it a question of this presentation, and I'm going to ask it to summarize the key points. Because right now with my deck, I actually want to get the main ideas out to see if it will understand what I've put in here, because I've actually added a bit more detail to it. So the main ideas here, of course, are the introduction and the talk of everyday AI examples, the adoption strategies, and it references the pages that it's talking about, the opportunity with AI. So it's pulled the information from these screenshots of the $115 billion economic opportunity, which is amazing. It's got the references here for how we can help improve your productivity. So this one here actually didn't quite hit the mark with AI assistance. This would be more about how we could support you instead of how AI can support you. But in general, it's basically did a 90% job of pulling out the key messages from here. If you select on the references, it will show you every single slide and every single item that it has referenced. And then, of course, you can copy that, paste it in, and do whatever you need to it. You can also use it to create and add more slides to your existing PowerPoint. You can see here, I've created one of different types of everyday AI, but maybe I want it to generate a new one. So I'm going to ask it to create a timeline with images and examples of personal AI, for example, Cortana and Siri. So I'm going to ask it to create a slide similar to this one and then add it in. Let's see what the outcome looks like. So what you'll notice here is that it actually put in two slides, slide 5 and slide 6. So this one here is the timeline of personal AI, talking about the concepts, introducing Clippy, Siri, Cortana, Google, and then Amazon Alexa. And then it's also put in a second slide of examples of personal AI and given it in a different context here as well. And if we look down the bottom in our speaker notes, it's also added in not just the slide, but it's provided speaker notes for both of these samples as well, which to me is just phenomenal. Of course, I will go and back and double check these timelines, but they actually seem pretty accurate. And then, of course, to just pull this out within a couple of seconds is, to me, it's a game changer in how quickly you can I've said quickly twice there, how quickly you can just generate slides and information and get your idea from your mind onto your PowerPoint presentation. The other very cool thing about working in large PowerPoints, this one here has 17 slides to it, but imagine if you're working in a deck with 20, 30, 50 slides, you could also ask it to summarize or break it into categories. So I'm going to ask it to summarize and create chapters for this deck. So you can see here, I asked it to summarize and create chapters for the deck. We have 17 slides, but it's broken out and it's actually pulled in those key titles of the introduction, types of AI, the adoption strategies, the limitations, and the use of AI, and then of course how we can help, which is awesome. And now I'm going to ask it to add sections. So now the deck is currently in basically 17 individual slides, but I'm going to ask it to break it down into sections so we can quickly jump to the different sections using the categories it's created above. That one didn't quite hit the mark, unfortunately. It's added a table of contents, but what I was hoping it would do is actually right click and create sections in the deck. Again, wanting to get the key messages out of the presentation, you can ask it for what are the key points and actions in this deck. Does it have any timelines? So really just trying to understand if this is a presentation of things we have to go and do, the key points, and if there's any timelines, this will pull out. In this deck, there actually isn't, but you can see here it is again pulling out the summary of the deck. Are there any action items? And it's pulled out some of the action items here. These aren't exactly the go-dos, but of course this deck didn't really have any specific action items, but these are the most, I guess, actionable items in here. So things like using words like learning and teaching and improving and increasing. So it is pulling the right information, but the deck isn't built specifically to say, go and do this. But still quite amazing that it can pull that within a couple of seconds. Of course, there is some information in this deck about the data and I guess the economic impact of AI. So give me some information on the economic impact AI will have. So this should pull information around the opportunity in the business needs for AI. So let's see if it will reference that slide. I believe it's maybe slide 8 or 9. That's slide 10 here. So it says, according to the presentation here, and it will take you to it, there is a $115 billion economic interest in Australian economy. It can pull it from here, but it cannot read these slides or the images in here right now. I'm going to ask it a very pointed question to see how many users will be impacted by AI by 2034. I'm trying to really push this one to see if it will use OCR or character recognition to read this image here. I don't think it will, but let's see if it actually can read the images in the deck. So because it can't find and it can't read the images in the deck, it does say it can't find the information in the presentation, but it does say there will be a number of users impacted. So it gives you a general answer. Another limitation here is that you can see this graph talks about improved productivity, experiences in research and development. But because of the way it's laid out, if I ask a question pointed towards this, what percentage of businesses want to improve employee productivity? The answer should be 72%, but because it is broken down into a title, then it's broken down into a number, then it's broken down into a heading down the bottom here, I'm actually really surprised it pulled that. I didn't think it would because it was broken down into 3 different sections on the slide. That to me is very impressive because it's understood the context and the layout, and then it's pulled it into the correct answer of 72%. So that to me is really impressive that it's managed to do that. Now I'm going to jump over to the view prompt section, and I would recommend, if you haven't played around with this before, definitely have a play with the prompts that it does give you. I'm going to go under the understand section, and then I'm going to ask it to, actually, let's not go understand. I'm going to go edit, and then I'm going to say organize this presentation. So this is what I was wanting it to do before, and I realized I was using the wrong terms, but it is called organizing the presentation. So here's a suggestion for how the structure of the deck can go. And you can see here, it has actually added those chapters where we have the introduction, where you can drop it down now. So I was using the word sections, but if you're wanting it to do this, you actually want to use the word organize. And you see here, it's got them grouped into slides and sections. And it's also, which is quite amazing, this slide or this deck had 17 slides before, but it now goes up to 20 odd slides. And that is because while it was organizing it, it's also added slides that include an agenda slide. So slide number 2, slide 5, which is a heading for personal AI, slide 9, which is an introduction to general AI in business, slide 14, again, a heading to the limitations and applications of AI, and then slide 20, which talks about prompting and our services. To me, that is phenomenal because it has not only organized slides into a very logical order, it's also added introductory slides as well to each of those sections. The last thing I want to do is on this slide here, you can see it is quite boring. It says get familiar with terms, and then it's got 4 pieces of text here. You can say make this slide more engaging with images and questions. And let's see what the output appears. So the thing with working with Copilot and generative AI is that even if you've done this before, it will not give you the same answer and the same output every single time. So even if you give it the same prompt, it will not always give you the same output. So this here doesn't actually look perfect, and it says I completed some of your requests, but I'll need more practice before I can do everything. What else can I help you with? So this is where it talks about the fact that as a personal assistant, it's still learning. So I'm actually just going to Control Z and undo everything that happened here, just because it wasn't looking right. But I'm going to copy that and ask it to do it one more time. But you can see this is where Copilot actually tells you that it is still working and it's still in production and trying to get better. So let's try it one more time. So you can see here, we asked it the question for a second time. The first output was really quite poor. It's generated this as a second slide. So this was the slide we asked it to redo. It didn't delete it or edit it. It's actually created a brand new slide with the same data and then updated it. And it's given us a nicer layout. It's added additional information. So here's the 4 headings, but it's added the 4 information to under each of those headings. And then it's also given us, again, an image. It made it look a lot more professional. And then it's given us down the bottom the speaker notes as well. So one tip here is that if you give it a prompt and it fails the first time, undo it and then put that prompt in again, and it will try and make it better the second, third, fourth time around, because this will give you different outputs even for the same prompt every single time. And that is how you can use Copilot in PowerPoint. I think Copilot in PowerPoint is really powerful because you can, in a couple of minutes, go from nothing to creating a really engaging presentation. You can also use Copilot to ask, edit, create, and understand presentations better. And I believe this will speed up the way you work within PowerPoint. Of course, if you like this video, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. And if you want to supercharge the ways your computer, hit that subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.